They say being single is a choice, a freedom, a luxury, but for Maya, it felt like a prison with invisible bars. She had everything she ever wanted, the career, the apartment, the clothes, but tonight, she found something in the back of her closet that changed everything. A small, red silk box, and inside was a secret that made her realize her perfect, single life was actually a carefully crafted lie. Maya was 34, and according to her Instagram, she was living her best life. Every Friday night, she posted pictures of expensive cocktails and rooftop sunsets with the hashtag single and loving it. Her friends envied her. Her mother constantly asked when she'd settle down, and Maya would just laugh it off, saying, "Why would I trade my freedom for a mortgage and messy diapers?" But the camera doesn't show the silence. The silence of a home where no one asks how your day was. The silence of eating a gourmet meal for one over the kitchen sink because setting the table feels like a joke. Maya was a high-powered marketing executive. She was brilliant, sharp, and independent. She prided herself on not needing anyone. But lately, the frustration was starting to leak through the cracks. It was the +1 invitations to weddings that she always threw in the trash. It was the way her married friends looked at her. A mix of pity and a weird kind of relief that they weren't her. Maya's biggest struggle wasn't finding a man, it was the exhaustion of being her own everything. She was her own protector, her own handyman, her own financial advisor, and her own shoulder to cry on. She had built a fortress around her heart, telling herself that vulnerability was a weakness, and for a long time, she believed it. Then came the night of her sister's 10-year anniversary party. Maya stood in the corner, holding a glass of champagne, watching her sister laugh at a joke her husband hadn't even finished yet. It was a look of complete, effortless safety. Maya felt a sharp, cold pang in her chest. She realized she wasn't frustrated with men, she was frustrated with the person she had forced herself to become to survive without them. Maya left the party early. The city lights looked blurred through her windshield. She went home, fueled by a strange, frantic energy, and started cleaning out her closet. She wanted to throw away the old, the dusty, the things that didn't fit her independent brand anymore. That's when she found it. Tucked behind a row of designer handbags was a shoebox she hadn't opened in 7 years. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was a small, red silk box. Maya's heart began to race. She remembered this box. She remembered the night it was supposed to be opened. But as she reached for the lid, she noticed something she had missed years ago, a note tucked into the lining of the box. The handwriting was familiar. It was his. But the words weren't a profession of love, they were a warning. What could he have known back then that she was only realizing now? And why did this box feel like a ticking time bomb in her hands? To understand the red box, we have to go back to Elias. 7 years ago, Elias was the one man Maya actually let in. He was a landscape architect, someone who built things to last, while Maya was busy marketing things that were meant to be replaced. They were happy, or so she thought. But Maya's frustration with the single life had actually started while she was with him. She was so afraid of losing her independence that she pushed him away every time he tried to get close. But then, the night of his proposal, everything went wrong. Maya had panicked. She told him she wasn't ready. She told him marriage was a trap for women. Elias had looked at her with a sadness she would never forget. He didn't argue. He just left the red silk box on the table and walked out of her life forever. Maya never opened it. She couldn't. Until tonight. She unfolded the note with trembling fingers. It read, "Maya, you think you're choosing freedom, but you're actually choosing a ghost. If you open this, you'll see exactly what you're running from." Maya slowly lifted the lid. She expected a ring. She expected a diamond that represented a future she had rejected. But the box was empty. What? Maya shook the box. Nothing. Just empty silk. Was this a cruel joke? Was Elias mocking her? She felt a wave of anger wash over her. All these years of guilt, all these years of wondering, what if, and the box was empty. But then, she felt a slight weight under the silk lining. She pulled the fabric back. Hidden beneath the padding wasn't a ring, it was a key. A small, brass key with a tag that had a set of coordinates written on it. She looked them up on her phone. It was an address 3 hours away, in a town she had never visited. A place Elias used to talk about, a place where he said he wanted to start over. What happened next was a blur. Maya didn't think, she just drove. The frustration of her single life, the loneliness of her apartment, the mystery of the empty box, it all pushed her down that dark highway. She arrived at the coordinates at 3 a.m. It was a small, secluded cottage by a lake. The windows were dark. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Maya stood at the door, the brass key heavy in her hand. Is he still here? Does he have a family now? What will I say if he opens the door? Maya put the key in the lock. It turned with a satisfying, heavy click. The door creaked open. The house was cold. But it wasn't empty. As Maya walked through the living room, her flashlight beam landed on the walls. They were covered, floor to ceiling, in sketches. Not of buildings. Not of landscapes. They were sketches of her. Elias had spent years drawing her. But as she looked closer, she realized these weren't memories. In the sketches, she looked older. In one, she was holding a child. In another, she was sitting on this very porch, gray-haired and peaceful. Elias hadn't just loved her, he had built an entire imaginary life with her. He had lived a double life, in his mind to cope with the fact that she had chosen her independence over him. But then, Maya heard a sound from the kitchen. A chair scraping against the floor. A man stepped into the light. It wasn't Elias. It was a stranger, an older man with a kind but weary face. You must be Maya, he said softly. Maya's voice was a whisper. Where is he? Where is Elias? The man looked at the sketches on the wall and sighed. Elias passed away 2 years ago, Maya. I'm his lawyer. He left instructions that if anyone ever showed up with that brass key, I was to give them the rest of the story. Maya felt the floor drop away. He was gone. The frustration of being single had always been manageable because, in the back of her mind, she thought Elias was the backup plan. She thought the exit door was always unlocked. The lawyer handed her a final letter. Elias's last words to her. The letter explained that the red silk box was never meant to be a proposal. It was an intervention. Elias knew Maya was frustrated with the single life, even 7 years ago. He knew she was using independence as a shield to hide her fear of being known. The letter said, Maya, the secret to a happy life isn't being single or being married. It's being honest. You were frustrated because you were lying to yourself. You thought you were free, but you were just lonely. I built this house for you, but I lived in it alone. Don't make the same mistake with the rest of your years. Maya stayed at the cottage for a week. She didn't post any pictures. She didn't check her work emails. She just sat in the silence, a different kind of silence this time. Not the cold silence of her apartment, but the heavy, meaningful silence of a life that could have been. She eventually sold her apartment in the city. She didn't move into the cottage, but she used the money from Elias's estate to start a foundation for single women. Not to help them find a man, but to help them find themselves. Maya is still single today. But she isn't frustrated anymore. Because she finally realized that her freedom wasn't a gift she gave herself, it was a wall she built to keep out the very thing she needed most, the courage to be vulnerable. Maya's story teaches us a profound lesson about the modern relationship struggle. We often glorify the single life as the ultimate freedom, and we treat marriage like a loss of self. But true frustration doesn't come from being alone, it comes from being disconnected, from others and from our own truth. Whether you are single, dating, or married, the question is the same. Are you building a life of freedom, or are you just building a fortress? Don't wait until you find an empty red box to realize that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one where you stop running from the truth. Now, I have to ask. If you were in Maya's shoes and found that red silk box years too late, would you have stayed in that cottage, or would you have walked away? Let me know in the comments below.